gives some conditions for a widow the church cares for. Verse 9, he says that we shouldn't put a widow on the list to receive care from the church unless she's over the age of 60. So, and has been faithful to her husband, is well known for her good deeds or good works. And what are these good works? 1, bringing up children. 2, showing hospitality. 3, washing the feet of the saints. 4, helping those in trouble or need, and devoting herself to all kinds of good deeds. Paul says that it must be older, over 60. A one-man woman has been doing good deeds for others, and everything he describes in that verse. And of course, there are many other ways to show hospitality other than bringing food and sort of that things. But you must devote yourself to serve at church anytime there's a need, or decorating for events at the church what is needed, or praying on a ministry team, lifting up the needs of the church, praying for the pastor. But you're not doing it just because you want to be seen. You're not doing it just to be busy. You're not doing it just to be doing good works, because we don't do things just to be seen. We do things because God calls us into service, because we want to be obedient to what the Lord tells us. But there are so many ways to be hospitable and do good works for the Lord. Paul goes on in verse 11 through 16. It says, as for younger widows, do not put them on such a list. For when their sensual desires overcome their dedication to Christ, they want to marry. Thus they bring judgment on themselves because they have broken their first pledge. Besides, they get into the habit of being idle and going about from house to house. And not only do they become idlers, but also gossips and busybodies, saying things they ought not to. So I counsel younger widows to marry, to have children, to manage their homes, and to give the enemy no opportunity for slander. And some have in fact already turned away to follow Satan. If any woman who is a believer has widows in her family, she should help them and not let the church be burdened with them, so that the church can help those widows who are really in need. This may seem discriminatory at first, with what you hear Paul say here, but Paul knew that most likely a younger widow would still be able to provide for themselves. And they could possibly remarry. They may have desires to remarry. And King James Version states it this way: refuse the younger widows, for when they have begun to wax or grow wanton against Christ, they will marry. The word wanton is supposed to be derived from the word to remove and the rein. So it's a metaphor taken from a pampered horse who the rein has been removed from, meaning that horse is free, that can do whatever it wants to do now, and it's not restrained in any way. So there's nothing to keep that younger widow in check or confine them any longer now that they're widowed. So other than what Christ asked us to do. So they are seemingly free to live as they wish without restraint. The King James Version also says they will marry, having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. And my NIV Bible says they will bring judgment on themselves. But I want you to pay attention, because I don't believe Paul was condemning young widows here. That's not what he was saying at all, for remarrying. And some people may see it that way, but what he was saying was that he's observing that many unmarried women desire to be married or desire companionship after a loved one passes away. I mean, it's normal. It's okay to feel that you want to feel that connection. But they end up quickly getting into a bad romance, or they ruin a friendship. I mean, some of us have seen that happen afterwards because they feel need or desire for that relationship and companionship. And so Paul felt the need to warn the church about this, because it was a problem in those days. There was many of them coming to the church for assistance. And we don't often see that. We don't have that problem here. But it's definitely more common in the younger widows, is what Paul was saying. But any widow of any age can likely get into the habit of being idle, as it mentions in verse 13. Wandering from house to house, being busybodies, gossiping, saying things they should not. Being idle for any of us is bad. That's why we need to be engaged in the gospel.